Creativity is intelligence having fun. My name is Caitlin Wilson, this is Chanel, and today we're going to talk about how to build a board and batten wall. Board and batten walls really allow you to be creative and have some fun and make your room look very aesthetically pleasing. So the first one that I did was in my office. I liked it so much that I decided to do one in my master bedroom as well. It was really fun. It is a lot of work. There is a little bit of math involved, but I promise it's worth it in the end and it makes your room look great. So let's get started. So what is a board and batten wall? You might have seen it on Pinterest before. So the definition is a board and batten is made with vertically installed wide boards and narrow battens fastened over the gaps between the boards. So what does that mean? Basically what you're doing is taking boards, putting them vertically and horizontally to fasten them together on your wall to make it look nice and pretty. This is one example. This example is using squares. You can do an example like this. I will say if you decide to use the squares, use thicker boards and put them further apart. The example I'm going to show you is using vertical boards. I used a 1.5 inch board, so a thinner board, and put them closer together. Really just depends on the look that you want to achieve. You can go on Pinterest and find some inspiration before you get started, but this is one example. So let's talk about the supplies that you need. So you do want to pick a paint color of your choice. I recommend getting a few paint samples first, testing them out on the wall before you decide on which one you want, and you commit to a full gallon or a half gallon depending on the size of your wall. So for this example, I used the Green Pasture by Sherwin-Williams. It's that one right there. I wanted a darker look for the room, so I could use some lighter colors around it. Really just depends again how you want your room to look. Next, you're going to need some paint rollers to help apply that paint. You're going to want some paint brushes for all those corners as you go around the boards. You're going to want a pan to put your paint in. You're going to want some painter's tape. I recommend painter's tape because the adhesive is just right. With other tape, the adhesive can be too sticky, like with duct tape. So when you pull it off, some of the adhesive might stick on the wall or might pull some paint off. So painter's tape is really great because it comes off easily, but it also protects the wall that you don't want to cover so you don't have any drip marks. You also want a drop cloth. Put that down before you start painting to make sure you don't have any stains on your carpet. I used Gorilla Glue as an adhesive to the wall. You can use nails. I didn't want very many holes in my wall, so I used Gorilla Glue that's pictured here. You are also going to want to use caulk. This is the caulk that I used. This is the Alex Fast Dry. I got this in the painting section at Lowe's. I used about two tubes of these for my whole wall. These are only about $3. You're also going to want to use a caulking gun. I use this to use for the glue, but it's in the painting section as well. That's the green looking device you see right there. Then you also want to use a caulking tool. This really helps as you go through after you apply your caulk, go around to really get that smooth, clean, finished look, especially in the corners, and it removes the excess caulk. You also want to use a sanding block. I use the medium grit. The medium grit is great because if you use too soft, it's going to tear and it's not going to serve its purpose. If you use too rough, it might take too much off of your wood. So medium was just right for my scenario. Then you also are going to need your wood, of course, that you're going to apply to the wall. Then you want to use your measuring tape to use your measurements. You're going to want to use a pen, a sketch pad, and then also a level. Hopefully yours is prettier than mine is. This is to make sure your boards are straight. So next we do have to do some math. I know everybody dreads math, but I promise it's not too much math. So the first thing that you want to do is you're going to want to measure the length of your wall from top to bottom. If you have baseboards, which most people do, you want to start at the bottom of the baseboard and go up, because your board is going to sit right above that baseboard. You're not going to put it on the baseboard. One tip whenever you're measuring is to put your piece at the bottom and go up. Helps give you more control, whereas when you put your piece at the top and go down, it typically will fall. So I'm going to go ahead and measure my wall. You can see this gives me a lot more control going up this way. So I'm going to go all the way to the top. That's 108 inches. And I've already went ahead and marked it on here. So from top to bottom is 108 inches. I did account for the baseboard. So from the baseboard up is 108 inches. So whenever you're determining your vertical boards, you're going to want to put your horizontal board in first. So after you've measured the length, you're going to go ahead and measure your width. For this example, mine was 160. So my top board going from left to right is going to be 160 inches. Probably going to use a couple boards since they come in 8 and 10 foot boards. You can have them do the 10 foot, 8 foot board and then cut it. So you're going to put that board on. Then we want to know the pieces below it. Remember, you're having that board go straight across, and the whole point of this is to get it to buckle snug right up underneath it, so that vertical is going to cross with the horizontal to make a T. So to figure out the length of these, I need to subtract that vertical board. For my example, I used 1.5. So from here to here is 160 inches. I have to come down 1.5, and that's where I'm going to start. So from my baseboard to the bottom of that horizontal board is going to be 107.5. So each of these boards need to be 107.5. For my example, I decided to do 8 boards. Draw yours, do a few different drawings, see what look you like. So since I have 8 boards, and remember, they're 1.5 inches a piece. So I'm having the boards go this way. So I need to see how much total area I've taken up with my board. So I'm doing 8 times 1.5, which is the length of my board. That's 12. Taken up 12 inches of area. I have 148 left to play with. I want all of these boards to be spaced evenly. So I'm just going to take, I have 7 spaces in between. I'm going to divide that by I have 7 spaces, so I'm going to divide that by my leftover area. It's 21.14. That's how much space I'm going to have between each board to make them nice and pretty and even. If you have windows, you'll use the exact same concept. Just subtract out the width and the height of the windows. So that wasn't so bad, was it? This is just the example that I used. This is the wall that I did in my bedroom, and then I'm going to show you the finished product. My wall was 145 across. As I mentioned, you're not going to find a wall for 145 inches. So I used one that was 96 inches and then another one that was 49. This really just helps make sure that all of your boards are going to be the right measurements before you put them on the wall. That way you don't have to make a few trips to Lowe's. I might have done that once or twice. So next you get to glue your boards to the wall. So what you're going to want to do, and you can sand before or after you glue the board, that's totally your decision. So pretend this is glue. You're going to take your glue and just kind of do swirlies to make sure you cover the total area of the board. If you go straight, you're not going to cover as much, so just do some swirlies. Put it on the wall and apply pressure for about 1 to 2 minutes to make sure that the board holds. And you can see the finished product of what mine looked like after I applied all of my boards. You can see I did a few more above the windows. If you do higher curtains, you don't even have to add those. It's totally up to you, however you want it to look. So next we get to do some sanding. So you're going to grab your sander. You see there's some rough edges right here. So if this was on the wall, I would see these corners right here. You're just going to take your sanding block, just smooth off some of those edges. You can see right here I've already sanded it, and then really just right through here you can see some excess wood. You just want to take off those rough edges, that way once you add your paint, it's a very nice clean finish. So you've got your boards on the wall, you've already sanded, now you get to caulk. So whenever you're caulking, you're going to take your caulk, this is actually the caulk, and you're going to run it right along your board as you go, and even in the corners. Run it all the way around every single corner where your board meets the wall. Then you're going to take your caulking tool, just run it right along there, same path you took for your caulking. And it's going to help remove any excess caulk. And again, it's going to create a really finished look. So that way once you put the paint on, you don't have any holes in between your wall and the board. So now you're pretty ready to prep for paint. So you're going to grab your painter's tape. Go ahead and go from top to bottom all the way around. You are going to want to apply it to the windows, window seals, anywhere you want the paint to not get. Make sure you get your baseboards really well, and make sure you cover them from top to bottom because you don't want the paint to run and get on your baseboards. So just make sure you apply this very liberally so that way you can get it all over the wall. This is an example. You can see that I covered my baseboards, my windows. I got everything that I didn't want the paint to get on. So now you get to paint. So whenever you're painting, you can use the paint roller. Just make sure you use the paint brushes for these corners right here. You can see it has a nice smooth finish. Then just remove your painter's tape once you've finished painting, and make sure that you let the paint dry before you move your furniture back. I went ahead and took the tops off of my windows. That way I didn't get any paint on there, but you can also put tape on those as well. The biggest thing with the painter's tape, you can't really use too much because you really want to make sure that you don't have any spots on your wall. It's less work for you. You don't have to use touch-up paint afterwards. This was my handy helper that did most of the work that's on the bed. And now you're finished. Once that paint has dried, you can put your furniture back and enjoy the new wall that you've created. I added some curtains. I went on Pinterest and found some different color schemes, so I ended up adding some pink, white, and brown curtains. And then I also added 2 side tables. Just added some lamps. It's really up to you. This is another opportunity for you to get to channel that inner creativity. Don't be afraid to try some things with it. Take it away. I'm definitely an advocate for putting something up, seeing if you like it, and take it back down. This is your canvas. You've created it, so really make the room however you like it. The total project took about 2 days. That's with 2 people. It was my husband and I that did the work. That is what breaks in between, obviously. And the total cost was about $150. That's including the paint, all the supplies, the wood that you need. I did have them cut it at Lowe's, so if you don't have a cutter, they can definitely cut it for you. So it is tedious. There is some math that involves, but afterwards, you really get to enjoy your beautiful wall, and it really does help make your room look really nice and pretty. I hope you learned how to build a Board & Batten wall. This helped channel some of your inner creativity and you have some inspiration to build your own wall. Pinterest is a really great tool to help find more information and to help get you inspired. Thank you for watching.